I'm here with Tommy, the drummer from the band Grind Axis. He's here to answer a few questions so we can get to know the band a little better. Hi, Tommy. So how'd you guys form the band Grind Axis? How'd you guys meet?
Well, the only person I knew the longest time was the bass player Anthony. Me and him grew up probably a couple houses down from one another. I met my guitarist Mike back in late summer of 2008. I met him at my job, Stop and Shop, and it's kind of funny because I saw a Les Paul tattooed on his arm, so I started talking to him about music a little bit. Me and him had a good conversation, and before the end of the conversation, I was writing my phone number on the back of his receipt. And from there, it went to like a buddy system where I got my bass player Anthony in. Me and him were friends for 13 years before we even started this band. He brought in two of his friends from a band called Eye of the Storm, which is our current guitarist Craig Marcus and our singer Paul Sportelli. From there, we've been playing for the past 4 years, and it's just been nothing but a great time. The guys are very, very fun to hang out with. We get along inside the studio and outside the studio. It's more like a brotherhood than a friendship.
Your vocalist is awesome. How did you guys meet him?
We met Paul in the spring of 2009. We all had dinner with him the one night. He was a singer in my guitarist Craig's old band, Eye of the Storm. We just had like a really, really good conversation, and he was kind of a little iffy at joining the band at first, but then when we started talking about going away from being a cover band and going to an original band, that sparked his interest, and from there it's just been nothing but a crazy roller coaster downhill.
What type of music do you guys play?
Well, our music is very wide-ranged. I mean, when we write songs, it can be anywhere from a hard rock feel to a punk feel. And we get our ideas pretty much from anything that catches our interest. Like, for instance, the one song that we wrote, Left Lane, my singer Paul was driving back up from Maryland and was stuck behind somebody in the left lane doing 45 and a 65. He pretty much told his wife to take down a pen and paper and take down these lyrics that he was writing. And 3 or 4 weeks later, the song came out. We just get our ideas spontaneously. It's nothing that we really set out to do. It's something that catches our attention, and afterwards we just act on it.
Are there any bands or musicians that have influenced you guys?
Well, our influences are very, very wide-ranged. I mean, it can be anywhere from the Red Hot Chili Peppers to the Foo Fighters. And we also dabble with some of the older, harder rock like Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, Van Halen, Kiss. Everybody you could possibly think of, we try and dabble in just to get the full spectrum of what we like to do.
If you could perform as the opening act for a popular group, who would you be honored to perform with?
It's kind of hard to say who I would really want to open for because there's so many great bands that are out there right now that we just love. But if we had to cut it down to one, I'd say it would be the Foo Fighters because these guys are the best band that we've heard in this time frame now.
How did you guys come up with the name Grind Axis?
It was very hard finding the name of the band, coming up with it. I mean, we had 3 sheets of paper with 70 different names on it. Each one would have an assignment of going into the internet and actually looking up a select portion of the names and see if they were trademarked. All the names that we found were all trademarked, so we were pretty much down in a hole at that point. One of the practices we had the one night, we were doing kind of like a little bit, we were doing bad work, and my guitarist was just grinding his teeth because he was just angry. And we were like, all right, that's the first part of the name. And then we were just starting to toy with different names for the second part of the name. And finally we came up with Axis because you figure there's 4 quadrants in the X and Y axis and there's 4 members of the band. So it ties in very, very well.
As a songwriter, what helps you guys write your songs? Where do you get your inspiration from?
When it comes to writing the songs, I mean, we just try and have a good time with it. I mean, we tie some songs into each other. Great American Date Song was the first song we ever wrote. It was pretty much about going out and meeting different type of people, meeting different type of girls. And the second song we actually wrote was called One Foot in the Doghouse, which is pretty much the repercussions of going out the night before, meeting people, having a good time, and now you got to go back to reality. When it comes to writing the rest of our songs, we wrote songs based on how people have inner struggles with inner demons, which was pretty much our thing for SSRI. With our song that we wrote, Wasted Life, we pretty much were trying to talk about how life's too short, you only live once, time is precious. The song Left Lane was pretty much something that we toyed around with the idea of, because people just don't dial into other people in certain aspects when you're having a conversation. We were like, you know what, honestly, if you're not going to pay attention, I'm going to walk away now. When it came to She's Always on My Mind, it was like one of those songs where we just had an idea, my singer Paul's backyard, just having a party. From there, it just progressed into the song overnight. I mean, we recorded the song on the iPhone. Later on, we went up to my guitarist Craig's house, recorded it in his little home studio, and then from there, went to the recording studio with it. And the last song, Tequila, Sex, and Cigarettes, was pretty much just an idea from a movie we were watching. We were watching From Dusk Till Dawn. All of a sudden, from there, it just was like, oh, look at this. I have an idea for this pretty interesting twist on what the perspective of looking at dancers are.
Any predictions about the future of CDs and vinyl sales?
My whole thing on digital production of CDs and stuff like that nowadays, I think it's going to eventually take over, but I think it's only going to happen mainly with the mainstream bands. I mean, I think that hard copies for musicians like me would be better, just for the mere fact that if you're playing a show on a Friday night, people are drinking and they're having a good time, they're probably going to be so drunk that they're not going to remember you the next day. So if you have a hard copy CD for them, they can actually listen to it over and over again and actually kind of pick up the pieces from the night before and realize that it was actually good music that they went out and saw.
And tell us about your future plans. Any upcoming performances or releases?
Honestly, our future plans right now and future gigs are pretty much the rehearsal studio on Friday nights, because our main goal right now is to have a final product by the summertime. Right now we're writing up a storm, and we're going to go back into the studio hopefully within the next 2 months. And then from there we're going to try and start booking as much shows as we can. I mean, there's no set time on when we're going to have the album out, but we want to have it out as soon as possible for people to listen to.
Tell our listeners where they can go to check you guys out and see a list of your upcoming shows and hear your music.
If you're looking for any kind of information on us, you can go to facebook.com/grindaxis, or you can actually go to reverbnation.com/grindaxis. We have all of our information on there. We have all of our music on there. We have upcoming show dates, pictures, videos, you name it, we have it there. So check it out and see what you think.
Thank you so much, Tommy, for coming out. It was a pleasure having you.
Well, thank you for having me. I mean, it was a great experience.
And we'll leave you with the second song on their album. It's called Doghouse.